everybody, and Melissa. Hi. So this video is gonna be sort of a weird one. I wanted to do kind of a story time video, but a story about my weight, since that is what this channel is all about. If I look down, I actually made some notes about what I wanted to talk about in this video, so I apologize if I look away from you for a second. So I know that my story about being overweight for pretty much my whole life is not unique in any way, especially now, a lot of people are overweight, and we're overweight children, overweight teenagers, and once you get past that point, it's so hard to lose it. Excuse me, finally found it. So this is not an interesting story. It's actually the exact opposite, which is kind of, to me, what makes it a little bit unique, in that let me explain. If you've ever watched shows like The Biggest Loser or Extreme Weight Loss or any of those shows that really focus on the obese person and what got them to that point. Excuse me. There's always some sort of just disastrous trauma that kind of started it all. And I don't have that. I've always kind of searched within myself to say, why am I this heavy? Why have I always been this heavy? Why is it so hard to lose weight? What happened to me, and it just wasn't like that for me. It was something I was almost born with. And I don't mean I was born with the fat. Yes, I do believe that it is hereditary. I don't know if I believe that, the actual obesity is hereditary, or if it's the personality traits that are passed down that kind of helps you to be obese. But I do think that it's not a coincidence that my mom was heavy, and other members of her entire family are heavy. So let me just say, though, after I cough, I've got like some bullet points that I'm just going to talk about, hopefully quickly. I definitely have always been heavy. And by that I mean I've always, since I was the age where I was aware of my body, I was heavy. So I've seen pictures of myself as a small girl, and I was a small girl. I wasn't like one of those super chunky children, like a young child. I wasn't very heavy. It was very kind of gradual. But by the time I was old enough to kind of know what a body was, I knew that mine was something I didn't like. I lost my list. I just clicked away. And then by the time I was in like 4th or 5th grade, I was already just super self-conscious. And this is the part that confuses me about myself, is that I don't know where that comes from. I was never teased. And that's, again, that's to me what's interesting, is that I was petrified, constantly petrified, even now as an adult, petrified that someone is going to make a comment about my weight or about my body. But it never happens. I went through school as a chunky girl. I was nerdy. I was quite homely. I had like the unibrow and glasses, and I already felt really heavy, so I wore really baggy clothes, like men's extra large clothes. And I took no pride in what I was wearing. I just wanted to be invisible because I didn't want anyone to say anything about me. I didn't want to be bullied, and I never was. But in my mind, it was this real threat. My family never said anything to me. My mom never said anything to me. Everyone was nothing but loving and supportive. So I don't think I'll ever figure out where it comes from, like where this intense fear of being picked on for my weight comes from, because now as a 34-year-old who has spent most of her life heavy, I have no problem saying it. I have no problem telling you how much I weigh or what size I wear, or the fact that I know that I am obese. But there's still like, there must be still that fear there, or I don't know. I guess it just doesn't go away. I think it's just part of who I am. So that was most of my first few bullet points, actually. I wasn't bullied. I didn't have any pressure from my parents to be a certain size. I didn't I did look at magazines and say, oh my God, why don't I look like that? But it wasn't like this. There wasn't this oppressive pressure to be something else, because that was beautiful. Like, I don't even know why I wanted to be beautiful. I don't know why I had an issue with the weight at all. To be honest, people loved me anyway. So I don't know. And I think I will probably never know. I had a lot of trouble in gym class, of course, mostly because I was fat. But I also had a lot of trouble with my joints. So the beginning of every gym class, we would have to run, a mile in laps around the gym. And I couldn't do it because when I would run, my knees would give out and I would fall right on my face. And I would be so embarrassed. And again, I wasn't even embarrassed that I fell. I was embarrassed because I thought everyone thought she's just too fat to run. Like, her body's just giving out because she's just too fat. And then that wasn't really the case. So I ended up with a doctor's note, and I pretty much had to sit out a lot of gym class, which at the time I was grateful for because I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed to be in my gym clothes. I was embarrassed to show that I was not athletic. But I also think it was a huge mistake. And I don't blame the doctors or the gym teacher or anything like that. But I do think that there needed to be some sort of physical activity for like the disabled kids or the kids that couldn't participate in the full gym class, because I think that really perpetuated my aversion to working out, really, or being physical. And of course that then led me to gain even more weight because I just didn't think that exercise or physical activity was an option for me. So I just continued to sit out. Excuse me. Here's a little tidbit that for our high school graduation, we had to stand in this long line and go up to a table that was run by fellow students, seniors, with this big book who had to take our order for our caps and gowns. So they had to take our height and our weight, which at this point was my worst nightmare, of course. And I remember at the time I actually weighed around 260 or 270, and I told them I weighed 185. And the thing I had in my favor is that these were high school kids that probably have never weighed themselves in their life, so they just wrote it down and they didn't scoff or look me over. And thank goodness the gown fit me. Oh my God, because after I did that, and I felt so embarrassed, like, with myself. I was so fearful then from that point until graduation day that I was like, I lied and this thing's not going to fit me, and it's going to be 100 times worse wearing like a gown probably like wide open because I lied about my weight. But luckily it fit me. I think they were probably smart and kind of sized it up before they sent it to me. But I was okay. After high school, I wanted to date. I wanted to work in an office with people. I wanted to be social, and I didn't know how to do that and be fat at the same time. Like I was doing all this online dating, like making a profile, and somehow I still got a lot of requests, and I went on a lot of dates actually with mostly really, really nice guys. And I can't believe I did, because thinking back now, I was so dead set on transparency. Like, I was trying so hard to avoid that moment of them walking in, seeing that I'm fat, and it just being over. Like, that's it. So I was like kind of belaboring the point with these guys, saying like, remember, I'm not like being coy, oh, I'm a little chunky. Like, I am fat, and I want you to know that this is what I look like. And that's terrible. Who wants that? Who wants to date someone that's like so worried that you're gonna reject them on this one thing? But I couldn't handle the thought of being rejected just for that. And you know what? I wasn't. I wasn't. I met really nice people, and they all were very sweet, and whether or not they were attracted to me, that's on them. But I almost didn't give them a chance. I just assumed that they would be so disappointed, and didn't really give it a chance. But that's when I think when I really started to feel like I had to put some serious effort into trying to lose the weight. I had tried all through junior high, high school, after high school. Excuse me. I did every diet you could think of. I did Atkins, Extreme Atkins, Body for Life, South Beach diet, Weight Watchers. My mom and I did the cabbage soup diet. And this was like, I don't know if you've ever done the cabbage soup diet. I think there's different variations. This one was like, you make the cabbage soup, right? Which was actually pretty tasty. We called it garbage soup because it was just every vegetable that you could find and like 2 cans of tomato chunks or something. And so like the soup you could eat whenever you wanted, as much as you want, because it literally had like 10 calories for a bowl full, which is messed up. But then the days were like alternating. So on like Monday, you would eat only steak and tomatoes. And then the next day was like bananas and something else, like bananas and eggplant or something. I don't even know. It was bizarre. But we tried it. We tried everything. And, nothing really worked. The only thing that worked was for me, and I don't consider this working, but the only thing that made me lose weight was juice fasting, and mixed a little bit with like a raw vegan diet. And I lost 80 something pounds. Now before this, mind you, I gained and lost a little. I gained and lost 30. I lost and gained 20. I went back and forth. But I never got under like 200 pounds ever until the juice fast. Excuse me. There goes the nose again. I got down to almost 185. And this was about 3 or 4 years ago. 4 years ago. And it was amazing. But even then, even when I was like hitting these goals and I got under 200 pounds and I was wearing like a size 14, which I'd never worn in my life, I didn't see a difference at all. I would take a picture and I would stare at that picture, stare at the mirror and try to, spot the differences. I didn't see it. I couldn't see it. I knew logically that I was wearing a different size, that the scale said a drastically different number, but my thighs looked the same size. My body looked the same size to me. It looked just as bad as always. So, and then I don't think that's why it didn't stick. I mean, how could it stick? I was drinking like 700 calories a day for months. And so obviously it made me lose weight, and obviously it all came back. Now, I don't really regret doing all of these fad diets, because yes, the yo-yoing is terrible. And some of the diets I feel are downright dangerous, like the low carb. But I feel like I really learned a lot with each one. I learned a lot about how I eat, why I eat that way, what I shouldn't be doing, what I should be doing. And clearly I don't have it all figured out. If I did, I would be 145 pounds and just kicking it with all my extra skin on the beach. But I'm not. So I'm still trying to figure it out. So now, what do I do now? So now, I try to eat for health. I keep going back to this notion of if I nourish my body the proper way and not overeat, eventually I feel like the outside aesthetic has to catch up. I know now, besides my, pre-existing health conditions, that my insides are in great shape. I have perfect cholesterol. I have perfect blood pressure. My heart, thank goodness, is functioning perfectly. I don't have diabetes or pre-diabetes. Even my blood sugar is great. And these are all things that run in my family. So I feel like I'm doing the right thing. I feel like I'm doing something great for the inside of my body. Why the fat won't let go, I don't know, but I'm kind of okay with that being now the secondary part. Whereas my whole life, it was the primary part. It was, I think I remember on a radio show or a magazine or something years ago, but I remember this. I remember that they polled like 1,000 people, excuse me, and they asked them, you know, would you give up a year of your life to wake up at your ideal weight tomorrow? And almost 100% said yes. And they asked if you would give up 10 years of their life to wake up at their ideal weight tomorrow. And I think it was something like 70% of the people said yes. And I am absolutely in that 70%. I mean, that's how I always felt. I felt if I could do anything to just wake up tomorrow, have the body of my dreams, everything would be perfect. And I would give up a lot for that. I don't feel that way anymore. I am definitely older now, and I realize that everything else in my life is and has always been pretty much perfect. I have a great family. I have amazing friends. I have the perfect man for me and this beautiful house and 2 very annoying but still perfect dogs. I mean, I love my job. Everything is great except for this. So I don't know why this has to be such an issue, especially if I have health, and I'm working towards healthier and healthier. So I realized this was a very long ramble, and it didn't really give much insight to, you know, my weight issues, I guess you'd say. But I thought it was interesting to talk about. I thought I like hearing about people's journeys and why they lose weight and why now, you know, what made it click, that kind of question. I think it's interesting, so maybe you will too. I realize I don't have any viewers right now, but somebody's watching. Yes, besides you, Melissa. Besides you, somebody else is watching. And so if somebody else, or Melissa, if anyone has any questions about my journey or anything like that, then you can leave a comment. But I don't think I left much to the imagination. I think all in all, I have always been fat. I am still very fat. I'm still working on it, but I'm at a point where I'm working on it in a very healthy way that may or may not work, but I will wait and see. So I hope you have a wonderful night, and I hope that this video was okay and that the light was okay. I won't know till I check it out. So good night. Bye.